The Dragunov uses a rotating bolt system, and I'll show you how that works. You can see the bolt has got metal appendages around the outside. There's one up the top, there's another one, and there's another small one. What happens is the bolt rotates into a locked position, the bullet is then fired, and the bolt is then rotated to an unlocked position, and where it is free to fly backward. The receiver has cutouts for the bolt to rotate into. You can see there's a cutout here, there's another one down there, and there's another big cutout here. What happens, the bolt flies forward and is then rotated into those cutouts. So there it's not moving anywhere, that's completely locked. The bolt is then rotated to an unlocked position where it's free to fly backward. The means by which the bolt is rotated is this piece of metal here, which is forced to travel along a channel in the bolt carrier. So you can see there's a channel cut here in the bolt carrier. Once the carrier starts to move rearward, this must travel in that channel, so that forces the bolt to rotate and it's free to move backward. So if I place the bolt in here, you can see what I mean. So the bolt is, you can see it's forced to travel within that channel, and it rotates as it travels within the channel. So the bolt flies forward. As you can see, the bolt has already met the chamber area, but the bolt carrier continues forward, and that forces the bolt to rotate. You can see it actually happening through the magazine well. The Dragunov has a side rail built into the receiver itself, which makes attaching and detaching scopes without losing zero very easy. The scope simply slides over that rail and the lever clamps it in place. If you want to attach a standard scope, you can get a different mount such as this one. This one's called the BPO2 mount, and it's made in Belarus, and as you can see, it's just a basic weaver rail, and you could mount any standard scope on that with weaver rings. It's a low profile mount which is close to the receiver cover, and depending on the scope that you mount and the height of the rings, you may have to remove the rear iron sight leaf. I ordered both the scope itself and the mount outside New Zealand because the costs within New Zealand are vastly more expensive than overseas. As I said previously, it's an 8 times magnification scope, and it's called a PSO 8x42D. It's made in Belarus, and it uses basically the same military reticle that was used by the SVD. It has an illumination feature which illuminates the black sight markings fluorescent orange, and that would be handy when shooting at a dim background. The batteries are kept in here. As you can see, the plus minus signs, the batteries it uses are common AG13 button cells, so easy to get hold of. The scope came with a rubber eyepiece. I haven't fitted it because I need to wear my glasses when I shoot. The rubber eyepiece has a rim which fits into this groove, so it doesn't slide back and forth. The scope can have an eye adjustment to a limited extent, but it's not sufficient for my eyes. You can see the scope mount is integrated into the scope itself, and basically that tooth is raised and lowered using this lever, so basically it's raised into the Dragunov side rail. Those cows you see there would be approximately 500 meters distant. You can see a series of 5 aiming marks called chevrons, and you would use these basically the same as you would use mil dots on a mil dot scope. It's impractical to assign a distance to a chevron because bullet trajectory differs depending on the ammunition used. With the original 4x scopes, you would have a chevron marked as the 1000 meter chevron, 1100, then 1200 meter chevron. You can see a funny graph in the lower left of the scope. This is a rangefinder, so you can use it to determine the distance to the target. You can see the numbers 1.5 and 0.5 to the right of the graph. Those refer to 1.5 meters tall and half a meter tall. And the numbers along the top of the curved line refer to hundreds of meters, so 200 meters, 400, 600, 800 and 1000 meters. So say for example that fence post in the background was 1.5 meters tall. You slide it into the graph until the top of the fence post touches the curved line and the bottom touches the flat line. So you would say that would be approximately 500 meters distant if it were 1.5 meters tall. The hash marks along the top of the scope, along beside the top chevron, refer to 1 meter either side of the top chevron at 100 meters range.